And I was like,
Okay.
yes, I am having that. And it managed to get through customs without getting extra fees as well. So,
Nice.
I mean, to be honest, Kiki with a pentagram behind would have been kind of weird.
Possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I enjoyed the new season of Sabrina like
I
so
haven't
much.
watched it all. I got distracted by other things, but I did like what I've seen of it.
It's
I
not.
sent I sent my sister a message going, "Oh my god, new Sabrina's amazing." She went, "That is like the gayest message you have ever sent me." She's like, "That's so gay." I'm
But
like,
I mean,
yeah, I know.
yeah, I mean, the old version was really camp and it was fun, but a bit
And made
rubbish.
for children.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. I mean, it's you kind of expect that, and also like about 20 years old. Um,
Yeah, it isn't it?
yeah.
I want to argue, but I can't.
Oh, before the new season of the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina came on, they had a good luck message from the previous cast. Yeah, they have certainly moved forward in time, as have we all, should we say?
Oh dear. Well, they're old as fuck, are they?
Well, there's clearly one that seems to have stocked up on Botox, and the rest are
What,
just kind
Melissa
of
Joan Hart?
no. I'm not going to say, but yeah. So that was yeah. Saw Sabrina, was excellent. Bought Sabrina t-shirt. So
Okay.
yeah, that's kind of the long and short of that.
But clearly, it's a conversation point. We have already illustrated that.
Yeah, that is very, very true. Let me just press the buttons to make things
Press
happen.
all the buttons.
Well, I'm trying to make us more accessible.
Oh.
So that means retweeting the podcast out on and now I get to hear Benj twice briefly.
Yay.
That's a disturbing thing for anybody, really.
Well, I'm loading up the chat for YouTube, you see. So
I'm going to attempt to do maths. Is this going to work? Is this going to work? Have I added up? Yes, I've added up correctly. That's fine.
Did you have to take your socks off because it was more than 7?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't know.
I like that.
I think I've probably only got 7 toes. I'm that inbred. Probably. Who knows? I've got an ingrown toenail, I think. I don't know. It's fucking
that
painful.
counts as an extra 1, Benj. Come on, you got a bonus there.
Bonus round.
Yeah.
I think it's an ingrown toenail. I've never had one before. It's just fucking painful. I think I've stabbed my foot with a sharp, bit that I didn't cut off properly. I'm hoping.
Welcome to Elite Cadre, the medical podcast.
Oh no! If you want to go that way, I've got something on my lip, and I think it's cancer, probably, or something. I don't know. Who knows?
Benj, we can take this to weird places very quickly.
Usually.
I mean, yes, true. I had some questions here.
Oh.
Well, I posted out that people might want to, just throw some questions at us. Some were good.
Right.
Some were less good. And I thought we'd start off more positively. This being the era of Bob.
Yes.
For Bob is now the Lord and Savior of War Machine.
Hallowed be thy name.
Exactly.
I hope so, anyway.
My Kingdom Bob. Yeah, it's very good news.
I do love the fact that all the as I posted on Facebook earlier, all the Americans there going, Bob? And all the people from the EU are there going, Bob, 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 Bob.
King Bob. Wait, what?
Well, it really is a big thing for us. All jokes aside, it's fucking amazing. If we manage to actually become, instead of the little carbuncle, the proper community back again, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, Bob knows more about the market than PP do.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say that. I will also. Am I allowed? Actually, no. Yes, I am allowed to talk about this now because I'm no longer a PG.
Yeah.
Bob was the driving force behind the first attempt at Lock and Load in the UK. He was trying to set up a convention that kind of fell through because of some family issues. But Bob did push very hard for us to get more stuff over here, and he has also pushed very hard to try and make things more accessible for the EU before. For instance, when the Death Knell came out, and that was... He thought it was going to be too expensive for the UK. He actually pushed so that we might be able to have a cheaper metal version instead. Now, didn't come off because Privateer Press said no at the time for various reasons, and that were both technical and slightly political, and I'm not kind of privy to all of them. But he has pushed for kind of trying to get us stuff that will work better in the EU market. So, sorry, I feel like this is podcast content I've just wasted on the pre-show.
You are. I was like, what are you doing?
It's fine. We do that a lot.
That is very true. Okay, I've got my Facebook post now, so that's good. We've got tournaments to talk about. That's also good.
We have.
Yes, Benj has a tournament to talk about as well.
Yeah, I didn't realise that I actually played after the last podcast. So
yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Mike and I have played each other twice.
Yeah, we've tripled the amount of times.
Hell is that?
Yeah, tripled the amount of times we've ever played against each other over the course of like 30 days.
Holy flirting schnit.
It's bizarre.
It's a good thing. It's a very good thing.
I did like it. I did like the way that we should do it in the podcast really, but I did like the way that Byron was almost apologising. It was like, you play each other a lot, didn't you? We're like, yeah, twice ever.
So we've only known each other for almost a decade, which by the way is scary in its own right.
It is, yeah.
We've only known each other for about a decade at this point. We've played each other twice. Yep. Like, you're up in the average quite a bit here. So, okay. That's going to be interesting. I did like that question from Terry. And hold back on your opinions on this one. All right. Discuss why CID or Mark III theme forces are a positive thing for the game.
Oh, that's a good one.
We don't like positivity here.
You don't like positivity.
See,
I'm feeling pretty positive. Let's go positive.
Referencing something, referencing the fact that in this thread, Menoth John turned up, and he is now officially retired from the world of War Machine podcasting. I say we can now claim that we are the podcast of positivity.
Oh my lord!
Have you met Benj? Really? No, seriously. I mean, what?
With the podcast of positivity, Benj is there for contrast. It makes us look better by comparison.
We need Alex back. See, that would help too.
No, that's just competence versus incompetence.
Good for contrast. Still contrast.
Yes, it is. Let's have a look. No, that's mostly from Benj. Yes. What is the air wind speed velocity?
I've learned that in Swallow.
Those four words together annoy me.
Why?
Speed velocity.
I mean, I'm just quoting the thing.
I know, but
Yeah, it's you too.
Physics. Physics says no.
What? Because it's redundancy, you mean? Because of the same thing?
No, they're not.
Well, no, they're not, but...
What is it? Is it velocity that's directional?
Oh, good. I'm glad I asked.
So, I think one of them is basically the rate that you are traveling at, but the other one makes it the rate you're traveling at in a certain direction. So you could have one that was immensely high, but because you were zigzagging back and forth and only moved like 1 meter overall, would be much lower. If you see what I mean.
I kind of see what you mean. I'm not totally sure I agree.
Basically, if you look from above, as you're going like a hillside road that snakes back and forth,
yeah,
you're actually not traveling forwards a very great distance, are you?
No.
And it's the comparison between those two. You've travelled quite a long way up that snaking pass, but overall, not that far.
Well, which one's which? Because you're saying that
I think velocity is the one that's basically
uphill.
Directional. Yeah, velocity is the direct line one. to your
Okay.
endpoint.
Look, it did spark a conversation. All I'm saying.
Yeah, it did, but it's the wrong kind, and people are going to correct my.
And what's the relevance of a nautical mile in that?
Nah, get away! Imperial units, get them out of here.
Derail everything's great.
Well,
it's like 1 degree. I'm like, what?
yeah. So we got that.
You said that we'd already talked about the death of everything too many times, so.
I think there was like one part of it that you were probably going to bring up anyway, but I can't remember.
I missed no quarter. I mean, I don't think we did properly cover that. I know you said that it died, and
should we take an episode off that one, off the nostalgia train, and then we can come back in the next one?
I mean, yeah, as long as the other train keeps on chugging.
What, the salt train?
And I'm not that salty. I know I have a reputation.
Actually, haven't you? Well, yeah, you've been to a tournament. You're feeling like okay at the moment.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah,
let's carry on with that mood.
I like the game. Game's good.
Game's
fun when you play against fun people.
Yeah, that is very true. That is very true.
I mean,
we had another question on theme forces. Double single theme pairings, do they work and can they compete? What are the best ones?
Double single theme, as in having the same one twice.
Yeah, as in more specifically, double Leylees. I want it to be a thing. Can it be a thing? Like, not in Champions. So
no, not Champions. But then how often are the Champions? I mean, who's ever played in Champions?
We are the champions.
Amusingly, the next one I've signed up for, also Champions.
Oh, is it? When's that?
50-point Champions at Milton Keynes in end of next month, I think.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah, if it had been Bristol, I'd have gone. Oh, Kurt, there's a thing.
Yes, Bristol, Cardiff. Yes.
Oh, Kurt, there's a thing. That's pretty naughty.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Not sure how other close there is. I mean, anywhere further down the southwest, obviously good as well.
I'm guessing you'd be looking for stuff in Exeter if there was anything as well.
Yeah, I also would have Exeter brought to my attention quite quickly, I think, as well.
That is true. People would beat down your door and go, Kurt, come out and play.
Well, I was supposed to do that on New Year's Day if I wasn't being ill physically. I would have gone.
That's
not from alcohol.
No, the opposite.
Lack of alcohol.
Lack of alcohol. Yes.
Are you Bender?
Yeah, clearly. Yeah.
Jeez.
Dying if I don't keep. No, I'm on dry Jan. So
dry Jan.
Dry Jan.
That's the thing, apparently.
He's shriveling up even as we speak.
I am. It's true. No longer embalmed. I'm just going off.
The driest of Jan.
We've also had the announcement of the next CID, which, dear Lord, I've just realised my iPad being white does horrible things to the camera. Now, the next CID has been announced, and it's on the 6th of February, and is Italian.
Oh, is it coming at some point?
Mercs.
Seafaring Mercs.
It looks like as well. They've put out a picture of the new Warcaster, which is interesting. Let me see if I can find it.
Haven't seen that. The art book. We can mention the art book.
Yep, all of the Kickstarter will be done by the time we are. So.
Oh yeah, it will, won't it? Yeah.
That caused a bit of controversy as usual. Nothing PP.
I saw a thread of somebody whinging about paying for artwork, and you're like, really? What?
Fuck that! I want a really nice coffee table book.
Yeah.
I've bought art books before. They are damn heavy and impressive things normally.
They are. The Beastie Boys book is still on my coffee table right now. Which is not just art, it's a lot of other things, but nice to too.
Oh, you probably won't be able to see that. I've just realised that's in a closed group. I'm going to have to find the actual image itself. All right, let's get you a copy of this. To the Elite Cadre group. Go.
Fly, be free.
See if you can open that.
Yep. Ooh.
Wow,
Definitely looks Warcastery to me.
Looks piratey as well. Looks looks like some hybrid of characters that of the later Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
It is Italian. We do know that. I almost think they might try and do Italian journeyman.
Okay, it's got a smaller, what's it, backpacky thing? Yeah. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, the power field generator.
Yeah, it's called something else. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've got a book for this sort of thing right behind me, and I haven't looked at it. So, anyway, sorry, I'm getting a very strong smell of fried onions at the moment because someone has to do dinner. Okay, so are we good to go with that amount of info?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, good questions as well.
Yeah, it's like we got content. It's madness.
Can we remember it though? I usually forget.
God no. Hello and welcome to Elite Cadre, the Hordes and War Machine podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously. I'm Mike.
I'm Kurt.
I'm Benj.
You sure?
See, because I wasn't interrupted, Benj was so distracted he forgot his own name.
Dead.
It just seems so cliche. It's just so 2018 to interrupt you. I'm just kind of,
Well, we are in the bright and magical new world of 2019, as heralded by the Lord and Savior of War Machine, the almighty Bob.
Yay.
Is that King Bob?
King Bob. Yes, just for those who may have missed out on this one, and I know we have a kind of mainly EU audience from what I understand, Bob of Cerberus is now the CEO of Privateer Press, which they announced yesterday as of recording, which is an interesting little story. So it'll be fun to see where that one goes. He's very much been the driving force behind the UK National Masters, and certainly from what I've heard of him, has got, well, frankly, all the experience you could hope for to head up a company like this. So I'm pretty much on a high note at the moment.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, bring back big tournaments, etc., etc. Well, Bob was very much in favour of the work that the press gang did, and he did talk about, supporting it, a version of it in the future. So who knows? Maybe that might come back.
It would be nice to see. I would love to see an amended version of the press gang as well, because it's not because of American law. It can't exist as it previously did. But
and I don't think it's sustainable with what it was doing as well.
Possibly, I think that's a much wider conversation. But it'd be nice to see something on the scale of a bunch of people who are helping to promote the game, get people into it, and bring them up to speed. Because anything that makes War Machine more accessible is just beautiful. As well as that, people might not like to admit it, but it really is kind of the backbone of a lot of the tournament infrastructure. We do have a lot of events running, but having a little bit of compensation for some people would really tip the balance and make it so that they are pushed to actually run it regularly and keep that cycle going.
Yeah, very true. There used to be a hell of a lot more events all over the place, small ones, big ones. Well, you get the support of the big events, don't you, from people coming in, and you get people running random little things and quirky, weird things as well. And that seems to be really what we've lost.
So, I mean, well, segueing on nicely, there have been some slightly more quirky events, depending on how you want to put that recently, in the form of some Champions tournaments that were run.
What, Mike? What is a Champions tournament?
Didn't we talk about that last time, though?
We did indeed. However,
all right, fine.
We are now in season 9 of Champions. For Champions does have seasons, and that does mean that the list of allowable casters and theme forces has changed since last time, and I became very sad because, well,
you don't play Cephalix.
I have Cephalix. It will involve more gluing than I have time or patience for. As to be honest, let me just go on my desk and I have handfuls of Cephalix arms on my desk. There are at least 2 half-glued casters amongst the array of models in front of me.
How can you tell what's a caster and what's not? Moving on.
Big heads, actually.
Is that it? Big heads. Okay, good.
Yeah. Cephalix casters have the biggest heads in the army.
I've been told I've got a big head.
Cool.
And you are a Cephalix warcaster.
I must be.
Not
Do
maybe.
you also have an interest in pain?
Is it a career? Because I don't really have one of those at the moment, so
It could be.
Ooh. I need it.
I'm not sure anybody would pay you though, so maybe that's.
I need a direction in life. You know,
Downwards, ever downwards.
no, don't you? Don't. 2019, year of positivity and Brexit.
Positivity.
The podcast of positivity. So yes, sadly my casters had changed. I lost access to Damiano. But good news, it forced me to play a caster I hadn't played in Mark III at all. But we'll get to that. So
Suspense. I like it.
Suspense. Yes. Between myself and Kurt, I went to the Warsaw Champions event on the Saturday. Then, because I am an idiot, I drove all the way to Cardiff to join Kurt for the Champions event on the Sunday.
Hello.
7 games in a weekend. I haven't done that in a while. Oh,
you
boy.
poor fool.
Actually, I wasn't that bad on the Monday, so it was all good.
I was? Jesus.
But Kurt, you're old.
Shut up.
Oh, come on. Tournaments give me headaches. Like, the amount of thinking.
I would actually say, general advice to people who are thinking about going to tournaments or have been to tournaments or like
water.
Yes. Lots and lots of water. There's like 3 really important things you can have with you when you're going to a tournament that will help you get through the day without a headache. You need water. You need something with a little bit of salt in it, whether that's a bag of
your opponent.
Nice.
No, something with a little bit of salt in it, and also something like jerky or a pepperami or something like that for a little bit of protein. That will get you through the day far more than any like bag of sweets or anything will like that. Don't chug cans of Coke; you will feel like hell.
I'll jerk your pepperoni.
I didn't have the headache thing. But
really?
I did feel drained, and I didn't drink enough water. I think you nailed it there. I didn't drink enough water. Out of practice, I underestimated the entire experience, despite the fact that I used to do it every month for I don't know how long.
Well, this is the really common thing. What people underestimate is the fact that not only are you standing for long periods of time, but you're standing in very close proximity to a lot of other people. Normally, you're getting sort of fairly warm, venue dependent, but you're also talking a lot, which means that you are very rapidly dehydrating. So take water, basically take electrolytes. It's anything that can top up your body.
Yeah, I must say, what was I going to say? I think the thinking thing stems also from anxiety, potentially stress from like making a difficult decision under duress. I think there's other factors from not just overthinking. I think there's a whole myriad of things if you're susceptible to that. I always come away from a tournament with even the smallest ones with just a giant stonking headache, even though I've probably taken a lot of water in during the day. It's still not enough.
I mean, that is entirely fair, because War Machine is a very complex game, and there is an awful lot of thinking behind it. So you do need to. The one thing you can say is, the more you play, the less you will have that headache because you're not necessarily thinking as much.
That was one of my takeaways from Sunday, was that I've had casual games, but they haven't been against the clock very often. And I don't know, it just hasn't felt as intense. And I came away from it halfway through the first game, I was just thinking, oh my God, I completely forgot what this is like. I think I even said to you, it's just like, I forgot what this feels like. And then by the time I got to the end of the game, even at the end of the 4th game, I'd had 4 games. But I got to the end and went, oh, I missed this. This is really good. I want more of this. Because I got back into it. By the end, I was not doing so well. But I was I kind of got that buzz back of no, I really enjoy this. I need to do more of this. But you need to get. It's like I thought of it. It's like driving.
Mm.
You need to get enough practice, not just with the game, but ideally with your army, so that you know what it does. You're not having to think about what your army can and can't do. You're just thinking about what your options are within the game, and then you just do it. And it isn't. There's less thinking process. Like when you first learn to drive, you're thinking about every little thing, where your feet are, where your hands are, where you're looking, where you're, the mirrors and everything else all the time. And when you've been doing it 6 months, you're suddenly it's all automatic, and then you're thinking about where you actually want to go and road positioning and lots of other complicated things.
That is actually a really good comparison. I like it a lot.
It just came to me on Sunday. You need to get it with an army specifically, not just the game as well, but. This is the first time I've been to a tournament with Crystal Guard.
Yeah.
And I've been with I've taken minions to events, but mainly to controls. But all this was quite a while ago now that I was doing it regularly. And yeah, I need to get in a lot more. That's why I went, to be honest, was to get back into it and start practicing more.
So, I mean, out of interest, because I'm guessing this was the first tournament you've had with your Crucible Guard.
Yes.
What did you discover about your Crucible Guard you didn't know before?
So I did know they were time consuming, but I didn't know, especially Silvestro, I underestimated how time consuming. I burnt my clock in places. And I'm out of practice on clock. I have played clock games, but a lot of games have not been on the clock, and I just fried it.
For reference for the audience, the games at Firestorm were played on a 55-minute death clock. So slightly shorter than the normal one, not huge amounts, but that last 5 minutes can be a real difference maker in how much you have left at the end of the game.
Especially when you're burning tons of it in your second turn. Yeah. Typically.
I think any first tournament back on the clock is a learning lesson. You can do as much prep as possible, even with the clock, but when it's in a competitive environment, I mean, when you're practicing, it's not always that competitive. So, yeah, I know what you mean. I clocked in one, I think.
But I'm not used to doing that because I'm used to playing Trolls where I had less models typically because you have bigger battle groups. You have even when you're playing lots of infantry, it was fast. Even when I used to play Grizel 1 heavy on infantry, it was a fairly fast list to run. But I suppose partly because I had done what I'm talking about doing, which is I ran it, and I knew exactly where I wanted to be in the first turn, and I knew what my second turn was going to be 9 times out of 10. Whereas
there is also the fact that Trolls partly are built for those early turns.
Yeah,
because there's not an awful lot of gunfire to be done with Trolls a lot of the time. So, or if there's
more now than there used to be. But
yeah,
no, you absolutely, still.
So a lot of it is you can run in, whereas you were running Crucible Guard, which has artillery and a battle engine that's firing things, and you've got the Colossal that's firing at things.
Yeah, but I take it it's also got very different infantry. I take it that Crucible Guard are a lot more squishy than Trolls.
Yeah, everything's more squishy than Trolls typically, generally. But yeah, true. Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah, I've kind of already gone through that adjustment. I mean, also because having had a break, whenever I would change in game, whenever I changed from say playing Trolls to Mercs or to Menoth or even to Minions, I would be like, oh, everything just dies. But because I've played 40k for a year and a half, and then come back and play Crystal Guard, I haven't quite got that everything's dying feeling. It's because I haven't made that direct transition. You haven't quite gone from throw it all up there. Most of it will survive, which is what you do with Trolls, what you're still used to.
I remember the miserable meat mountain was the one for that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to run it all forwards. It's probably fine. Like 9/10 it will survive. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Still a lot. There's still a lot of that in Trolls. And plus bears coming in from the sides as well now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I mean, Crystal Guard is a lot more about higher def than it is higher armor. It has some bits of high armor. It's an interesting contrast, but it is a very different thing to the way I was used to playing. And I just, think the most significant thing was time, and also just not. I thought I was reasonably prepared because I've been playing most weeks for a little while. I was ill prepared. I just need to play more games.
Well, to be fair, when you walk in and get told, oh, by the way, a third of the field is Scorn, I sat there going, I haven't played against Scorn in how long, and they've just dropped a CID. And what are these models? The Supreme Guardian. What does that do? Oh boy! Can I just say from watching? I think it was the tail end of one of your games against a double Supreme Guardian list.
Let's not spoil who that was just for a minute. But yeah,
that looked absolutely terrifying. If you've got Colossals on the table,
I put two Vulcans against it, and that did cause him to take a bit of a, oh my god, how am I going to kill that? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be careful about you charging that. Yeah.
Yeah, because the fact is that they're high mat and they're gaining like an additional die, which they drop the lowest, and then they're weapon masters against huge bases, and it just they can buy attacks even though they're not gargantuans.
Melee range of 3.
Yes, Thresher and a melee range of 3.
So they can attack over almost anything in their own army. So they can send other stuff in first and then attack over it.
I mean, that is a phenomenal piece.
Yeah, and they looked nice, didn't they? Even though not all of them were painted, I mean, there were at least 3 or 4 floating around, weren't there?
Yeah, I think 4 types. So you got 4 Scorn players. One of them didn't have one. Oh, actually, no, there could have been 4. Yeah, 4. So I think it was 2 ones and a double.
Yeah, I think right.
So, yeah, Supreme Guardian. If you see one of those, quite tasty. So, yeah,
huge.
Carry on from where you were, if you want to.
Yeah, I can talk about without in great detail. I can talk about my results and how I did, if you like.
Yeah, sure.
Without blow. I mean, I did play 2 Scorn players, but you could argue that I had a bit of a baptism of fire. I played against a guy called Ben. I didn't really realise who Ben was because I hadn't seen any pictures of him and didn't know what he looked like. And then when it came to write the results right at the end, I have to admit, I clocked and he was down below 5 minutes. So I take that as a sense of moral victory when I realised what his surname was. Can you guess, Benj?
Yes. It's Hampshire, right?
It is Hampshire, Ben Hampshire. I didn't know him, never met him before. He did say he knew you, but people say they know all sorts of people. I don't know who people are.
Yeah, he's like a good mate, and he trashes people regularly.
Yeah,
he actually did threaten after the game that he had with me to go back home, go to Benji's, play him, so he could play the entire of Elite Cadre in one day.
Well, I beat all the Elite Cadre in one day.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say there's a prize for doing that because how much of a challenge is it really?
Exactly.
Well, but, I mean, the challenge is to get all 3 of us in one room.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
But it was an intense game, and I was halfway through that. I wasn't because I know what a lot of the Immortals and things do, and I have followed the Scorn CID, so I know roughly what it all does. But there's a difference between knowing what individual models do. Hexerus 2 is not what I remember him being. Oh my god! It was I felt like it was being done to me the first half of the game, and then I kind of started to feel a bit better, and I lost. And I was, even if I hadn't clocked, I was losing. I mean, I was up on points at one point briefly, but then he pushed back, and he pushed way past me, and if I hadn't clocked, well, actually, I clocked, and then he won on scenario points on that turn. So even if I wasn't clocking out, I still would have lost.
If it makes a difference, Kurt, I clocked against Ben as well. He had an opportunity early on to just send in Moloch and kill me on like turn 2, and he went, but where's the fun in that? And I think by the end of the game, he was slightly regretting it, even though he'd got like time to spare, and it was obvious that I was going to clock because he'd realised as the game went on just how much he really didn't like Makeda 3.
Oh wow! No, because
I was playing Gorton, so and I didn't use my feat for, well, pretty much the entire game because opportunity never arose because he was keeping Makeda like 1,000 miles away in case I went, I see your Warlock, come over here.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
I learned about her later on, but yeah, she's intense. I didn't quite realise how, Butcher 3-esque she can be.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. I hadn't took that at all. But it's just why you go to events, isn't it? You play things in events and you go, oh, I didn't know she... Okay, right, fine. I'll learn that next time. Yeah, I mean, he did say, because of the way the Hexies feat works, he did say that on one of my turns, when we finished, he went, I was really scared that you would go for the assassination in such and such a turn, because he said, I think it wasn't easy odds. He said, but you had a reasonable chance. I realised that I left him exposed with no fury and no nothing, because he went for clearing out a lot of stuff on the feat turn and left no fury, no nothing. And I didn't even see it. I was too busy going. It was good. It was educational. It was a bit of a baptism of fire.
Yeah. I mean, I also the same. I played 3 Scorn players.
Did you really? You played 3 Scorn players? You only played 4 games?
Yeah, I played 4 games. 3 of them were against Scorn. I got Paul Leatherby first, who I moved up, thought I was perfectly safe. Like, literally, Gorton is surrounded on 2 sides by forest. The other one is full of units, and like there's a wall in front of them. And
I thought when you told me you only lost 2 models that you did well.
Yeah. So turns out then what he did was he moved Mach 3 up, feated, which now means she gets insight as well. Insight as well. And then went, okay, I'll charge Moloch into the Hammer Dwarf. And that's when I went, oh. Because the Hammer Dwarf was about 3 inches from Gorton on the other side of the forest. So, yeah, charges in, kills the Hammer Dwarf, sidesteps, biff, 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 biff. Leaves Gorton on 1, and then just walks up casually as you like with a Desert Hydra and goes, right, I've got 5 sprays to do 1 damage box. Let's see how far we go.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I faced that list.
Yeah. So that was Paul. Then faced Ben, who was playing pretty much the same list, which I did better against this time, but only because he passed up the assassination opportunity.
That wasn't your second game. That was your third.
That was my third, yeah. I'm skipping over the second. It's
good. I was skipped to my second one.
Yeah. And then last I played Stu Greenhow with.
Oh, cool! Yeah.
With a Supreme Guardian and all the Immortals. And I thought Armor 7. I was list locked at this point into Cross, and I thought I should be okay with this. This should be fine. Nothing could be further from the truth, because it turns out POW 10 guns don't go very well against Armor 22.
No, not really.
No, that was bad. I also forgot, because I'm an idiot, that they have Vengeance.
Ooh. Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Threat range. Let's measure the threat range. Yeah, I'm fine here. I'm just going to kill that one. Whoops.
Yeah. I thought, okay, so they're speed 4, and then they can. That's at 7, and then they've got 2-inch range. That's 9. Well, I've got 10-inch guns. I'm perfectly safe. No. But I did make some progress by, in the turn where they were all Armor 22, setting about 10 of them on fire. Which, you know. Oh, and corroding some more.
Which is a bit of a nonsense, isn't it? Immortals on fire, but never mind.
I mean, yes, it is true.
I know fluffing rules. Yeah.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk? Do you want to talk about game 2?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I'll do what you did. I'll come back to that because my I'll do it. Well, why not? My third game was against Elliot, which I really enjoyed that game. That was really good fun. He was playing minions. He had an absolute metric ton of gators. He had 4 units of gator men posse and just tons of stuff. Yeah. I killed a lot of it.
Rask?
No, it was Barnabas won.
Oh, Barnabas won. Ooh.
Yeah.
Tasty.
With a Wrestler and various the kind of general usual with a few extra new solos that have come out. I mean, it's he came across the table. I moved up out of threat range and took a few pot shots here and there, and then he came at me and he didn't do much on that second turn. And then I was like, I thought about it for a while, and we were very conversation. It was a really good, fun game because he was like, "What are you trying to intend to do?" Because obviously I can't stop you. It's your turn. I was like, "Well, I'd like to do this. I'd like to kill a lot of gators. I'm going to pop feet with tons of sprays and everything else with Silvestro and a Colossal and a Battle Engine, and I killed most of his army. But it took me like 40 minutes of my clock to do
Ooh.
it. I would think I was down to about 12 minutes at the end of turn 2. Something
Okay.
silly like that. That's what I need to get faster at. It's very, very effective. You talked about a Sylvester Army doing that in turn 2, again, one of your games back in December or November. And
Yeah.
now, having done it, I just need to get better at it because it's just if you come too far at the table and come into threat range, that army can just clean house. But it was really, really good fun. He did come back hard. Fundamentally, I clocked. I was pushing back on one side. He took one of the zones and scored a few points. And I can't remember where we were on control points at the end of it, but I killed a hell of a lot more than him, and I just completely ran out of time. It was a really good fun game. Really enjoyed it. And then my last game was against Paul as well, against Makita 3, and with the same list with the Desert Hydra. And I have to admit, I think afterwards, talking it through with Byron, I did make a mistake. And I think because I had Silvestro with what's the thing when you can move out of the way when something comes towards you?
Admonition
up on Silvestro, and didn't think it would trigger on her movement. But of course it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I didn't trigger it because I didn't think it did trigger. So then he ate Silvestro's face, came out of the table, killed a couple of steel heads, stepped, and then cast a spell. He feated as well, and was and I think he could probably still done it if I'd moved back. I think he could have waded through my crew and a few other bits and pieces, and still chances are probably still got to her. But if he hadn't, he was still next to a Vulcan and would have just died. Yeah, it was brief, and it was nice to end the day with a brief game that I could then go and get coffee and chill out and rest. So I was happy because yeah. And then we can come on to game 2 if you like.
Well, do you want to give your perspective or?
It was fun. I had a plan. I had so yeah, we played each other. Let's go with that because we haven't said that.
Yeah, it was from my perspective, it was a very back and forth game.
Yeah,
because there was a point where I was sat there going, oh, I think he's got this. I've made a mistake here. Because
I thought, I thought I did well with getting. There was a point where I don't think you quite saw that I would charge my Vulcan across the table and remove 3 jacks in one go, and then managed to dent because I was afraid of the Hammerforged dwarfs counter charging into it, and I managed to kill enough of them to make their counter punch not quite heavy enough, and it worked. It didn't kill the Vulcan, but I couldn't capitalize on it enough. I think is probably the reality of it.
Yeah, and as well as that, there was still the siege crawler. So we ended up playing. Was it Silvestro against Gorton?
Yeah.
So my Gorton list was sort of it was basically whatever I had was assembled for dwarves, which is siege crawler, some hammer dwarves, mortar, a couple of heavy warjacks, 1 driller, 1 not the avalancher, rock ram. That's the one.
Yeah.
And an assortment of gun bunnies and solos.
And some what they call the Ogren. Gun.
Oh, and the Ogren assault corps. Yeah, forgettable. Even I've forgotten I played them.
Yeah, nicely painted though. Yeah.
Yeah, good metal effect I find. Yeah,
and a similar effect on the Bat Legend.
Yeah. No, apart from my hammer dwarves, I think that list is completely unpainted.
Didn't we discover that you have models that you were using on Sunday that you've owned for 10 years and still not painted? Was it not quite that long? Or recently painted after owning them that long, perhaps?
Let me think. I'm trying to think what the oldest.
I thought we said that with chatting, but I can't remember.
I'm trying to think what the oldest thing I own is that's not painted. It might well be the Steelhead Cavalry.
Oh wow!
Because the Steelhead Cavalry, I played at SmogCon 1. And they've still got the same undercoat on.
My Steelhead Cav painted.
They're just sprayed. The only thing of the steelheads that's the steelheads have been slowly painted. So I've gone through. I've got Verendry painted, and I've done Damiano and gone through Rocinante. But every time I look at Cav, I just sit there and go, I could paint this, and then I put it back on the shelf. I don't know what it is. I have this real thing with painting horses that just it's the same.
Even though there's a lot of armor and sort of leathery bits covering the horse, but never mind. Yeah. Those. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So my Sylvester list is kind of, I don't know, fairly typical mix combined arms. It's a Vulcan. It's a railless battle engine. It's a minimum unit of rocket men with the captain. It's full steelhead halberdiers with Dr. Mosby supporting them, turning them into Crystal Guard infantry, and then a couple of trancers, unit of combat alchemists, the cannon, and a few other solos. Hutchuk is always in my list. Can't not play Hutchuk. He's always MVP constantly, even if he's just tying things up. Yeah, and you're right. It went back and forth. It really did swing quite wildly. Yeah, I think when I removed things like almost all the Ogre Assault Corps, that helped as well. But it was I couldn't take your jacks down after that. Your heavies, your driller, and your whatever the one is.
The driller and the Rockram. Because I mean, they're not super tough. They're only like arm 19 with mercenary grids, but at the same point, you'd kind of put so much into taking out all that infantry on the flanks. Yeah, you'd kind of got this bit in the middle where you're a bit too stretched. Yeah. And there was just the battle engine there. So it was, as well as that, they got the gun bunny with them. Yeah. So while your rocket men were kind of bimbling about, the bunny goes in and goes, powerful attack on these 4 rocket men.
That was a good shot. That was really good. Didn't expect you to hit all of those, or nearly all of those.
When you rat 6 and boosting, it suddenly becomes really easy to hit, even like Def 15. So it's they can be an utter horror show. But I think I thought you might have had it on scenario very early on, which is I realized as soon as I put the list down, it was the scenario with 2 zones, 2 objectives, and 3 flags across the middle.
Yeah. Mirage.
And I was sat there going, I may have made a mistake here. My stuff is speed 4, and that flag is an awfully long way away. And that's why I kind of had to go in with like big AoEs on all the stuff that was even near that far flag. Yeah. But I wasn't expecting the Colossal to come forwards. That kind of nearly ruined my day.
I think it did good work when it came in, and then it survived well and killed a lot of dwarves in the counter charge. And my cop was just burning out again, wasn't it? It was just kind of he stepped up, did a sweep, and removed what was almost all of what was left of the dwarves. It was it did good work. I need to get better with the list. I think the list is strong and has an answer for a lot of things. Yeah, but what it does just takes a lot of time, because it's almost a lot of, it's not quite death by 1,000 cuts, but there's an element of that. It's a lot of little hits. Sprays take ages when you're spraying through so many infantry, and they don't necessarily die the first spray, so you have to spray them again. And that was the same with the Gates in the other game. It was going in there with feet with sprays and just removing stuff left and right. But it takes concentrated fire.
I think that game would have really turned for you had I not. I think there were 2 key pieces that were really early on. It was the combat alchemists at the front, and it was the piece of artillery that you got that went away really early on, which you could have used to just pick things apart in the later game.
I need to get better at protecting that. I've been aggressive with it in other games and got away with it, so I suppose I've got a bit callous with it.
You're not the only one. So for reference, for people listening, I've not played Gorton for the entire of Mark III, because no one has played Gorton for the entire of Mark III. He's a caster you do not see anywhere, ever. Which means, having played 6 games with them on the weekend, the amount of people who've suddenly realised, oh, That's how many infantry you can pull in with a Gorton feat. Yeah. So in one game, I was playing against it was Barry's Signar double blockhouse list. I pulled in an entire unit of trenchers and a trench buster, which meant that they were all gone before his next turn, so he had no frontline infantry left whatsoever. And the difference that makes to a game, just being able to go, yep, that's all that stuff is 8 inches over here. Or another game where I was facing Legion, where all of a sudden their beasts were moved from this dominating position in the center of the board to right in front of 2 warjacks. Suddenly makes that game really, really shift. Gorton is not the most powerful caster, but his feat is still incredible. For anyone who's not aware of it, you pick a table edge, you pick a distance of anything up to 8 inches. Anything in his control area that's an enemy model gets pushed towards that table edge that number of inches, and then gets -3 def, rat, and speed for 1 round. And they can't receive orders, charge, trample, or slam.
Wow.
It's a bit so similar to it's a very control-y feat, similar to what the fuck is his name now? Magnus 2.
Yes, where Magnus 2 locks. I mean, that's the thing with like a couple of the mercenary casters. They do have very scenario-based feats. You've got McBain that says, I have scenario pieces in this zone, they are not going to die. You've got Ashlyn saying, try as you might, you're not hitting any of these pieces. Then you've got Magnus and Gorton, who control where the opponent is going. So Mercs do have, if only in the feat, a lot of those control elements. So,
yeah, I don't know if there's to make up with for the lack of. I don't know. Their units are not exactly stellar, are they? It's...
I mean, I'm not going to say you're wrong. Merc units are generally expensive for what they are. I think like one of the exceptions is Steelheads.
Yeah,
who
definitely.
They are perfectly priced and they get a lot of work done for what they are. You look at their stat line and think, how do they work? They're not particularly good at anything.
They need help. But in a lot of factions, including put them into mercs, it's so Damiano can make them better because they're his kind of boys. But so put them into Crucible Guard, you give them Mosby, and so they become Crucible Guard infantry, and he can make them tough. He can make them hit harder. He can make them. It's just you don't need to make them faster. They're already speed 6. You see, they are. Actually, anything's missing is Pathfinder. Thinking about it, but there's ways to make them much more effective.
Here's the thing: the Steelheads, they are relatively cheap at what, like 11 points for a full unit, something like that.
Yes, that's it.
They are speed 6, as you said. They've got a 2-inch melee range. They're def 13, arm 13. Matt's a little low at 5, but if they charge, it becomes 7.
Yep.
And it just it's just enough in all the right places for them to actually get some real work done. And as well as that, if they don't get the charge off, they've got set defense. So they come def 15 if you charge them. They're vulnerable to shooting, and they've got a couple of other little things. They do need support, as you said, but Merc lists that take them generally have some form of support. And as you said, Crucible Guard have their own form of support, and there's that as well. So they're a nice piece to have for a force that's generally a little overcosted. But that's the whole thing of they're mercs. They can work in any army, so they have to slightly overprice them so that they don't dominate each faction's own choices.
Yes.
Because, we all remember the days of Merknar in Mark II.
Yes. Yeah, if the mercenary infantry is better, is more efficient and better in general than faction infantry, then why would you take them. Why would you
Yeah.
take faction stuff? You just end up with everybody playing mercs. I mean, merc solos especially was true of Moxie, wasn't it? They were everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, for people who don't remember it, you would very often see lists that were, what was it? It was
Oh,
Kane,
Selena. Yeah.
Kane 2 with, Boom Howler and Hammer Dwarves was a really common list.
There's a lot of Nis around as well.
Yeah. Oh God, Nis were everywhere because of course they completely outshone most factions' infantry.
No, they don't.
No, I mean they don't even get taken in mercs. It's. I mean, they're not bad still.
Well, they're good. They're just expensive.
Yeah. And
They're
also
expensive.
they don't also fit in a lot of the theme forces, unfortunately.
Right.
Especially for champions, which we're going through at the moment, because we get Leyleys, which means you can basically take any infantry but mercs. You get Hammer Strike, which means you can only take Rulic infantry, and then you got Cephalix, which means you can only take Cephalix infantry and one non-Cephalix unit.
How long does the season last?
I think it's about 6 months.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, for people who don't know for people who are interested in the Champions format but haven't played it, if you go to privateerpress.com, go to the organised play section, and then go to Champions from there, you'll actually find the full Season 9 list.
I would recommend just asking Mike like I'm doing, rather than having to read stuff.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at it now. I mean, you don't have an awful lot of choice within Crucible Guard because you've got Silvestro, Locke, and Gearheart in either Prima Materia or Magnum Opus.
It's not Locke, it's McKay. Isn't it?
No, not for Season 9.
I thought it was McKay and Gearheart.
Nope.
Oh. Because I thought previous season was Locke. Okay, okay, look, okay. I'm sure it's okay.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, okay, I believe you.
I'm staring at it.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought it was
There you go. So yeah, and I'm just looking at it now. Zal 2. I don't want to face that army again. And I'd have to find a way around it. And yes, mercenaries are particularly interesting because resistance, hammer strike, and operating theatre, and you get 2 each for resistance and hammer strike and 1 for operating theatre. So you're kind of a bit locked into what you're taking because you're only allowed, 1 of each theme force. So it's interesting. It's a format I'd encourage everyone to try because you are not going to see things like Haley 3 with trenches in this. It's not that kind of format. You are going to see stuff that is, more thematic. I suppose, actually, first, have you got any more you want to talk about with the tournament, Kurt?
I don't think so. I think we've kind of gone through that. I mean, I lost all my games. Let's be clear. I lost all my games. But I've come away still wanting more and wanting to,
that's good. I did decently well on the Saturday, winning 2, losing 1, which was fine. And then on Sunday went 1 win and 3 losses, which was kind of the other side of the coin. But there we go. But yes, we can now go over to a question that was asked us by Terry on Twitter. If I just find the exact wording. He says, discuss why CID and Mark III themes are a positive thing for the game. I'm going to open the floor to someone who's not talked in a while. Benj, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. Sorry, the tournament chat was riveting. What was I gonna say?
Then I rolled a 6, but then he rolled a 3.
But then...
And then I shoved both my dice up his nose.
Oh, dear. Yes. Are themes killing the game? Was that the gist of that question? Sorry?
No.
No.
Not at all. So the question, I'll read it again for you, Benj, because you clearly weren't paying attention.
Yeah, that's fine.
Discuss why
Yep.
CID
Yep.
and Mark III themes
Yep.
are a positive thing for the game.
Mm.
Now, I mean, you could take that as either a positive or a negative, and you can discuss any side of the coin.
Not really sure because I'm not.
Would you like me to discuss what my answer was first, and then you can kind of bounce off that?
Yeah, you can riff away.
Okay. So, one of the things I said in this was that I do think that specifically, I'm going to go for the themes aspect first of all. I think CID is kind of a separate topic. Why the themes are a positive thing for the game right now? Because what we have seen since, let's take the early part of Mark II when I started playing.
Yeah.
What we have seen since then is a more than doubling of the number of models, units, warcasters, warlocks that you can put on the table. There is a huge range. Now, what that means for both on the testing side and on the playing side is you need to remember a lot more interactions. It's not just your own, it's remembering what other people's stuff does as well. What the theme forces do is they lock out some of those interactions. So what it means if there is something that you know in a faction is going to be problematic, you desperately want to put two really nice models into a faction, you want them to have these rules, but you know that if they interact on the table, they are going to cause problems. Well, now what you've got is a very simple system. On PP's side, what you do is you say, okay, yeah, this model's available in this theme force, this model's available in this theme force. If players want to play those two models together, they still can, but they are handicapped. They lose out on a certain number of points, usually between 7 and 17, something like that, in order to be able to play those models, which limits the damage that combination can have on the game. Now, arguably, could you get around that with more testing and, you know, maybe refining those ideas a little bit more? It's arguable you could, but that's kind of what CID's for, and that's later in the process almost. It's a very simple way to just make sure that some of the most damaging play experiences for the game don't happen.
I don't think of it that way, but yeah, that does make sense.
I think from my perspective is that I find that CID is quite... I don't follow it religiously. The game evolves very quickly, and sometimes too quick for me to keep up. I can see if it was a video game where constant patching is important, basically, you know, to, like you say, keep everything balanced and fair. I could understand that.
Well, I will go to something that Privateer Press said earlier today, because shortly before we started recording, I was actually watching the Primecast. Well, I think sorry, the developer hangout. That's the one.
Yeah.
And they said that their aim was always to incorporate CID changes into the game within 6 weeks.
Right.
Which is a very interesting statement to make, because, I don't know how many CID sort of sessions there've been over the last year or so.
No, I'm not sure either. Roughly one a month?
Let's have a quick look. So in the 2018 archive, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So roughly one a month. And each one... Well,
wait, didn't somebody say that just now?
Well, one of those is SR 2018, so you were actually bang on. So we're getting roughly one a month. Now, that means that each faction is getting part of it looked at roughly once a year. In the grand scheme of things. Now, previous to this, we were getting, was it 4 dynamic updates a year?
Something like that.
Yeah, we were getting. I think it was roughly 4 dynamic updates a year. But each one could potentially address a lot more things. So I think what we're seeing is a smaller amount of things being done each time, but much more rapidly. So I think you are right, Bench. It can be a little bit difficult to keep up with.
So I find that before they started the streaming to the extent that they're doing now, I struggled to keep up with it. So Mark III in general, I found hard from the beginning to keep up with it, to learn the changes as we went to Mark III and to understand them. And we know that the beginning of Mark III was problematic, so let's move past that. But
yeah,
the CID that helped correct that, I struggled to keep up with it. What I have found massively beneficial to me, because my go-to general chuck the telly on. I don't browse terrestrial TV or Sky or anything. I don't have Sky, but I don't browse anything anymore. I chuck YouTube on as my general background TV, and I find CID is CID update. Sometimes they're a little bit slower. They've got better. The last couple of months have got a lot better, but they have been in the past sporadic and a bit slower at updating. But that doesn't matter unless you're playing that during CID. If it's a month after CID finishes, it doesn't matter. It's not live rules yet. So if you've caught up with it with the YouTube kind of discussion a little bit later when they post it on YouTube, I find that a really practical way to absorb it.
That's fine. I don't find the material that interesting to watch. Like, I mean, I'm the same. I don't watch terrestrial television, but I must say I don't watch any sort of third-party content for War Machine really anymore. I don't find the game very interesting to broadcast in comparison to other sort of like esportsy type stuff. That I don't think board games and stuff like that sometimes translate very well. I think
they need a bit more thought. I agree. I think things like Arcane Assist have it quite down.
I was actually going to bring up the same thing, Kurt, because I mean, last year I wasn't really kind of involved in anything other than the social media scene for the game. I now actually do subscribe to Arcane Assist's Patreon.
Cool. I've been looking up to that. I'm thinking about that.
I mean, it's only like a
$1 a week,
which is nothing. But I have actually found the videos they've been putting out for War Machine Hordes to be actually really good content. They've got the game going at double speed, and they've got people talking through, okay, what was your motivation on this turn? Why did you do this? How did this play out? And it's just watching people go through the game and working out, okay, so that's how that army unpacks. That's how that unit works. It's an interesting way of actually keeping engaged with things.
And they're good players too.
Yes.
Yeah, that channel is it's one of the few actually as well, isn't it?
I think Deathclog Dave is another one that gets close. It's not quite the same, but that's also does a similar thing. So they will do full version, but they'll also revisit, and you'll probably sometimes you get both on Deathclog Dave. So you have to look at what's short and what's revisited. And it's a similar concept. Run it at high speed, commentate over the game, talk about why and how and things in a similar way.
I see. I mean, the thing about learning other people's factions that's never really interested me, because otherwise I'd play that faction basically. I guess if I was more competitive and I'd want the edge, I'd like any other game. If it was like a TCG or something, I'd research, decks that beat my deck or something, and variables to tech against and stuff like that, and what 2 list pairings I should take, to a tournament. But for casual tournament going, CID is a bit of a nightmare. And these videos are quite good. I'd prefer, I'd go to that, but I end up just speaking to friends really about what's, what list should I take as like an all comers kind of thing. I learn better, especially by doing and seeing rather than just.
I was going to say there's a learning methodology question
Yeah.
there, isn't there? You were just going that way, anyway. I could tell you
Yeah.
going that direction, and I'm a big Arrow learner. I absorb really well from what I hear. So for me, that kind of YouTube channel, even if I'm not actually watching it, I can sit and paint and have the Privacy Press stream on, and it goes in quite nicely. I might not remember all of it, but I at least then have an understanding of what's happened with CID for current Grumkin and the last lot of score, and those kind of things are in my head somewhere.
Plus,
I mean,
what I would say is it is actually really nice that Priority Press are doing these very frequent streams and talking to the community more. It's something that had been kind of missing, but now we're kind of seeing it is starting to drive a little bit more engagement and getting people kind of, more understanding of where the game's going, where it is, how they're moving forwards with it, which is, I think, a real positive aspect.
Yeah, I do agree that the engagement is getting better slowly. I would say the other thing as well about I was just going to say before, the learning curves and stuff like that. Mark II took a hell of a long time to actually sink in, and I haven't really. It's a commitment thing. I think the whole thing's a commitment thing, and CID asks for just a little bit more sort of commitment into the game. And at this stage, probably not that committed. So,
the worst thing about you saying that sort of commitment thing, Benj, is the fact that I know people who were really committed to the game and played it in Mark II for years, and it got let's say 2-3 months before the end of Mark II, and every time there was a tournament, I can guarantee that one of those players would stand there, go, "Judge," call me over, and go, "How does a two-handed throw work again?" Because there's almost too much to keep in your head at times with some of this.
Yeah.
So,
no, I understand. And I'd still call the judge over for a fucking throw these days as well, because they're very corner case rules that don't often happen, or people don't often see that as a line of play.
I will say, using that example again, they did massively simplify the throw rules for Mark III, because one-handed and two-handed throws no longer exist. You just have throw, and if you have two open fists, grand, you get an extra die for the strength check. That's it. It's amazing.
Well, that's pretty good. But what about all this half distance and all this nonsense? And if it ricochets and bounces off something, or is that still in there? Is there all the
It's never ricocheted off things.
Wow! What is it, least disturbance or something for a landing?
Rule of least disturbance.
Yeah,
that's if it's passed over models that have a smaller base size than the model being thrown.
Right.
And basically, the principle of that is move the fewest models the smallest distance that they can get to legal positions.
Okay.
That's it. So if you're moving two models 2 inches, but there's an option to move one model 3 inches, then you take the one that moves one model 3 inches.
So if one Colossus throwing another, it just throws everything out.
No, because Colossals can't throw each other.
Oh, can they not?
Oh, disruption on Colossals as well.
Also doesn't work.
I know, that reminds me of
grievous wounds on Colossals doesn't work either.
No, don't take them away. We're still thinking of more.
Yeah, what else doesn't work on out of action movement on Colossals?
Concealment.
Here we go. Unless they have the surprisingly quick rule.
Surprisingly, that's only on one model, isn't it?
2 now.
Yeah, I think isn't there a Legion one with it as well?
Yeah, Archangel.
No, the Archangel was the one that I was referring to. Is there something else now?
Oh, that got its rules from the flying circles thing.
Zapdos.
The Zappy Bird.
Yeah,
Zappy Bird. It's called the circle Zappy Bird. That's the one.
I just call it Zapdos.
Well,
Storm Raptor. That
sounds like a Sean Connery film, Zapdos.
Yeah, it does. Is he wearing a mankini?
That's the second time today I've heard mankini reference. I needed it neither of those times.
Well, I've got a mankini. I could put it on if you want.
Benj, you do you. Just don't turn your camera on.
I work for Zapdos. My name is Zed.
And anyway,
I come from the galaxies.
to go back to what we were actually discussing, the rule is deceptively mobile.
All right. What happens if there is a house and all sorts of terrain in the way, and like you throw in a model through a woods into a building? I don't know.
What if there's a rat?
What, Skaven? Like a
I just go
Doom
with now. Sound like you were quoting with now. I was joining.
Oh,
in.
okay, fine. That's okay.
Then at this point, I turn up at your table and DQ you.
Wow. I'm so glad you are not a judge.
That you just reminded me of me getting Nick DQ'd from one of the Masters Nationals just because he said I could go first. He started deploying before me. So I didn't tell him. I just hand up Judge Chris. He's deploying and he said I could go first and he DQ'd him on the spot.
No wonder he doesn't podcast.
It was ace. We were on the very bottom table on the second day. It was great. It was like last game. It was so funny. I was crying on the floor. I couldn't help it.
No wonder he doesn't podcast anymore. That probably haunts his nightmares. So,
it was so good. It's like, yeah, I'll choose this table and you can go first. And then he started deploying. I just put my hand up.
Amazing.
Oh,
Amazing.
So funny. Anyway,
yes, back on topic.
So one colossal throwing in that. Sorry.
No. What I would say about the
I've got to write lock lists now. You do know that I've got to now start writing lock lists. I've never have got a lock list I'm really happy with. I need to start doing that now.
Okay, fair enough. But yes, going back to
the point.
Yes, to Terry's little question.
I like it. Is the answer my answer? Yeah. It's the answer. I was just pissing him out.
I'm indifferent, but that's because of where I am, I guess, in the game.
I think CID has taken us to a point of balance that we have never seen before. We've got to a point where it's probably a combination of the two. So theme lists do what you've said, Mike. They do mean you can play the jank combos, but the jank combos rarely fit into those themes, so that it costs you 15 odd points of potential free stuff, because every single thing gives you somewhere around, as you said, 9 to 17 free points generally, or something similar.
Somewhere around there.
8 to 17, or you probably nailed it. I think you might be able to get 18 in some, but so it helps balance from that point of view. CID, I do grant you it's hard to keep up with, although for me, I found YouTube is a brilliant way to just to have that as a almost passive learning kind of way of keeping up with roughly what's going on. And it's created a level of balance where you can anything into anything doesn't almost nothing steamrollers other stuff. Things are scary. Supreme Guardians, 2 of them scary, but there's those 2 Vulcans. So I don't know, different things. One's Battle Engine, one's Colossal, but they're I think we've got to a point where the game feels like you could play almost anything into anything under that umbrella.
Okay.
There's a fly.
I will say, purely from a almost a business point of view, from PP as well.
I was flatlining actually.
What this does is it means that there is a constant level of anticipation over what's coming next. You're always kind of a month or 2 away from like, oh, there's a new thing coming along. Oh, there's my faction's got something new. Oh, there's a new bit of piece here, and you've always got that kind of it. It feels. Well, if they get it right, and I do have to stress, if they get it right, and I don't think they necessarily have been getting it right all the time so far, it looks like it might be improving, but this is really from a selfish mercenary point of view.
Two mercenary CIDs in how long? Anyway, yes.
Shut up.
When was the last troll one?
Yeah. That is very true.
When was the last Crucible Guard?
Trolls do feel
like... you're a new faction, you don't go on.
I will say, having seen the number of people who are playing Trolls at big events...
Yeah, don't need it, do they? They just don't need it at the moment.
Tail end of last year. Well, I know, in the UK, I'm going to stress that in the UK, ATC is, I think, a very different thing, and the lists have just come out for that, and I haven't even bothered to look at those.
No, I haven't yet.
I need to get Dirk. Where are they?
I
Google it yourself.
I believe they're on Conflict Chamber.
Oh, there we go.
But yeah, Trolls probably do need a little bit of a tweak. Not a lot, just.
But there's talk. Actually, the talk I've heard is around some of the earlier themes. That's when the work needs it around. Not Band of Brothers, what it was called. Around some of the
Band of Heroes.
Band of Heroes. See, I wasn't miles off. I know he's played Trolls. I really have not played it much in Mark 3 at all. Yeah, so going back to some of those, and because everything's got Storm of the North, so they need a bit of balance around the other themes to kind of go. This is good too, honest. And what we need is we need a theme for Trolls called Elemental Evolutionism. That's what we need. That's what you need. That would fix everything.
Back in the bin.
Yeah, back
What was supposed to do
in the
with my 5
trash.
Storm Trolls?
In the trash where you belong.
So cool. I love that theme, Mark 2.
Nobody else.
So good. I did.
I remember was it Elemental Evolution playing.
That's it, yeah.
Playing Jim Stark, who had all the beasts in the world. We worked out afterwards. He'd been making the list in, and get ready for a blast from the past, iBodger.
Right, yeah.
But he thought the theme force wasn't in there yet.
Oh my God, he was allowing for it twice.
So it was deducting a point off all the beasts. Then he was deducting a further point off all the beasts.
Oh my God. I mean, you got I don't know how many points worth free in that, because you got discounted lights. So
yeah. So,
oh my God.
So in the equivalent of Mark 3 points, he was playing roughly like 28 to 32 points up.
Yeah.
I was sat there thinking, what's going on?
A legal list, you could get 11 points free, which is a lot in theme lists for Mark 2.
It was hideous.
You could get a lot of points.
I could actually check because I still have War Room 1 installed.
I do somewhere, yeah. My other phone.
Oh, I go back to it now, and it's certainly interesting.
I like those lists. I have 5 painted Storm Trolls.
I thought we weren't going nostalgia, by the way.
No. Okay, let's step back from Mark 2.
If this had been me, it'd have been slamming the foot on my neck and say, "Shut up."
Ben,
yeah, that is true.
I have never turned up and stood on your throat. Honest.
Not yet.
No.
They're still fun.
I've threatened.
Suppose it's hard to get nostalgic about Crucible Guard, though, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, that is true.
Although fluff-wise, it is. Fluff-wise, I do.
Yeah.
Because they go back to Escalation, really.
Yeah, well, we're not having another episode again. Where you go on about the lore of this faction.
Well,
you know you like fucking alchemy, you know.
All right.
Well,
it's fine.
Interestingly, I was going to say, what's actually going through at the moment in terms of Privateer's campaign stuff that they're actually taking submissions for, the Winter Rampage, is all about the fate of Lael.
Yeah.
So
has that still not been decided yet? For fuck's sake.
No, it ends soon. So you've got the book, which is Acts of War 3 Stormbreak, which is apparently, I think, the lead up to this. Then they're taking campaign results as part of Winter Rampage, which is on Privateer's site. And they'll be ending those submissions on the 31st of January, which will then go into what actually happens in the world, whether Lael wins its freedom or whether it remains Cadre. Apparently, at the moment, it should be becoming independent again.
Yay!
So we'll see where that goes. And I'm hoping it goes for more Lee's troops.
Yes.
That would be lovely.
Yes.
So we'll see. Given what's happening, I may have to look at getting some more of the books just so I can kind of get back into where the fluff is, because I've got no idea what's going on.
I haven't. I used to love the fluff, but I haven't. I don't know if I want to sit and read the books. So.
Damn, I'm doing this again. I should stop. Yeah. So what we should do then, I think we've kind of gone through at least most of Terry's question. In that,
that's impressive that we pretty much built a whole podcast out of one question from Terry. Terry, you're now hired to give us another question for the next podcast to build a whole podcast out of it.
That is very true. So I mean, I've said I'm positive. Kurt, you said you're positive. Benj is more ambivalent, but Benj actually, you've got some good points as to why you might be more on the fence. In that.
They're wrong, but they're good points.
Yeah, that's always the line, the company line. You're wrong, but nice. What was I going to say? The one thing I do enjoy about CID is early concept art.
Yes. Although it is leading, sadly, to something of a disappointment with me for the Ironhead, because they've now said they can't do the pose that they were going to do for the Ironhead. So I may have to wait for when PP does a convention and see if I can get another Bombshell Bombardier, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to convert up the pose that they originally had.
Sorry, the Ironhead? What was that? Sorry, I must have missed that one.
Oh, okay. So, the Man of War suits?
Yes.
So, they stem from a much earlier mercenary invention.
Okay.
Called the Ironhead suit.
Okay.
And that's being put into mercenaries proper now. So, what it is a 4 or 5 point solo, which has basically mechanic rules. So, it can go around and fix warjacks.
Okay.
It's really efficient. It's like D3+2.
It's really good for throwing aliens out of airlocks.
Yes.
It's a power loader.
Yeah, well, it has the power lifter rule, which means any model with I think it's large or smaller base size, within 2 inches of it at any point during its turn, it can basically place them anywhere completely within 2 inches of where they are.
Right.
It's also got girded, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah, and it's got the clamp rule as well.
Which you proxied one when we played before, didn't you?
They are hilarious. I love them. They are also great late game pieces because they are, well, actually, I'm going to get the rules up because I've sort of forgotten these. It's thrilling radio, I know.
Meanwhile, here is some music.
Benj is just slowly going mad.
Well, yeah, because it's maddening. Has anyone got any of this concept art then? Because I'm looking at the concept art that came out for the Infernals. Today there was an extra character that looked like he had a giant fucking helmet on.
Oh yeah, I've seen that one. Here we go. All right. So Ironhead, girded, mechanically adept, so it can repair other factions' models. Powerlifter, so it can do the crane thing. So even if a model's knocked down, it can pick it up again.
It gets knocked down. It gets up again.
Repair D3+2. It's repairable. It's medium based, Def 10, armor 18. It's got 2 weapons: industrial clamp, which is range 1, PNS 13. An enemy model with equal or smaller base size hit by this weapon suffers -2 death, and for 1 round cannot advance while within this model's melee range.
Okay, so it's a bit like a Ret Jack.
And Forge Hammer, which is range 1, PNS 14.
Okay.
And that's a 4 point solo, which also has Jack Marshall for some reason.
Jank Marshall, do you mean?
How much does it repair? D3 plus?
D3+2.
Okay.
4 points. I'll be taking one of those basically every time I can. Because on Merc Jacks, that becomes D3+3, which is essentially make this Jack have all its systems again.
Yeah.
So if it lives through being shot, you can fix it up nice and proper and have it charging across the table again.
Where's some concept art of this, though?
It was in the CID forums, which you should be signed up to.
Yeah, I forget my password.
Well, then you're useless to me, Benj.
Do you have a link? Come on. Or just like a screen grab you could just throw at me? Oh, I don't like next month's model. Harlequin
is it out?
Harlequin Verge.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet.
It's not that great. I was expecting for Harley Quinn version. That big.
Can't do that.
Why not?
There you go, Benj. It's in our chat.
Thanks. Okay. Where are we? Does it look good? It was the Warcaster. That was a pirate, wasn't it, supposedly?
Yeah, name hasn't been revealed so far.
If that ends up, though, from Riot Quest, I'll fucking riot, to be honest.
Well, Benj,
Yeah.
everything in Riot Quest is getting War Machine rules.
Yeah, I know, but that game looks so fucking stupid if it's anywhere near that video that was... Oh, I've seen that.
We don't have to play that game to get the cool new models for your cool new army.
No,
Yeah.
you have to buy a book, though, to get a alternate sculpt.
Mm.
I would...
Okay. Yep. We can take up that conversation topic.
I would buy that. It's just a bit... I don't know.
So for reference, what Benj is referring to is the current and what will probably be former by the time this is edited Kickstarter that Privateer Press are running. Now, this is for the Art of the Iron Kingdom. Well, sorry, not the Art of the Iron Kingdoms. The Art of Privateer Press. It's an aggressively short Kickstarter. I think that needs to be pointed out. Which has just hit the stretch goal, actually, which is nice. So it is going to be an art book, and there is, if you want, there is a model that comes with it. The Iron Maiden, also called James, which, judging by the rules, actually pretty nifty. Works for basically everyone and is slightly terrifying. Just the back of that card is ridiculous.
It is a lot of text.
Acrobatics, blade shield, prey, sidestep, soul vessel, and spring blades. Oh, okay. If a model hits this model with a melee attack, the attacking model suffers D3 damage points after the attack is resolved, unless this model is destroyed or removed from play. Oh, it's also got grievous wounds, which is absolutely delightful.
Because there's not enough of that in the game at the moment.
It's also 14, 17, speed 7, mat 7, and it has 8 boxes.
I want one, please. Is it a small base? It's a small base, isn't it?
No.
It's medium, I think.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
medium.
Yeah, 40 mil. So, actually, if you notice on all the new cards, they've added another symbol just under the command value, which is the size of the base in mil.
I quite like Harlequin verse.
And that's fair enough.
Good for you.
So, yes, there is this book, The Art of Privateer Press. Now, for anything above the $30 range, you can have a digital or physical copy. If you want to pay an extra $17, you can have the miniature. So for $57 all told, you can have the book with the model. Now, a lot of people have said, "Oh, why is this a Kickstarter? Privateer is a big company." I'm just going to point this out now. How many times have you gone into wargaming stores and seen slightly tangential books for games that just sit there in piles for years collecting dust?
RPG books. You got to think about RPG books, to be perfectly honest, don't you?
Or Mark II rules books.
I'd say less of those. Near the end, people weren't buying them, but
D&D books.
Yeah, that's what I mean. RPG, yeah.
I'm talking more stuff that's tangential. It's
Okay.
setting, not rules. That kind of stuff. And one of the things they've said is, we want to produce this. We really want to produce this, but we need to know that there is enough of a market. By putting it on Kickstarter, yes, it is a glorified pre-order system. Yes, it's not originally what Kickstarter was intended for, but it's what Kickstarter's been used for the last several years.
By several miniature game board game companies and Christ knows what else.
Yeah, so it's kind of at least semi-accepted. Now, I've backed it because I love quite a bit of the Art of Privateer Press.
I have also backed it for the same reason.
Yeah, I have on my wall 2 pieces of art which I've referenced multiple times. It's the one of Ashlyn standing in the ruins of Ladry, and the one of Sorsha standing by a warjack, all in white, which I think are 2 really gorgeous pieces of artwork. If I could buy a print of the Brian Snoddy Nomad as well, I would. I can't, so I am sad.
You haven't gone as far as the block canvas print, there, have you?
Well, if it was any other time, I might have sprung for that, because
It's quite a lot more money, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, you were just talking about like the number of like miscellaneous books that you have in shops collecting dust. I have a number of those miscellaneous books collecting dust on the shelves, and I've realized to stop buying them. They're, as much as they're nice pieces, you only end up looking at them once or twice, basically. They end up in a coffee table somewhere, you know, collecting dust.
That's kind of the point of a coffee table book bench.
I know, but it's maybe, and then it's another thing you have to move when you move house. It's another fucking, you know, it's a doorstop at best. It's not even a fucking coffee book table half the time.
So, okay, this is the point where someone visits Benj's apartment and realizes it's just a single foldable camping chair and a tablet.
And something else full of hate in the corner. We don't know what it is.
That's you, Benj.
I have a bookshelf that is, well, it's just a slow realization that, you know, there are plenty of these books. I have I backed like the Infinity RPG, and I have some lovely art books and that and all sorts of stuff. But it is tat in the end. It's a very expensive collector's tat.
Well, then so's the whole hobby from a certain perspective.
Yeah, no, because you can actually use those models to actually do something with. You can go look at an art book and go, okay. But
Benj, the same could be said for the art pieces I've got on my wall.
Oh yeah, no, well, no, that's decoration.
I've paid all. In fact, I think I've probably paid as much for those 2 art pieces plus the frames they're in as I'm going to be paying for this entire book.
Oh, that's fine. I can look. That's your money to do so, but I don't really. That, you know, even as a fan of the game, not this time, I'm afraid.
I mean, that's fair enough. I completely respect you for it, and I can actually understand where you're coming from. I know a lot of people who are de-stuffing their lives. I know someone who's taken like a multiple £1,000 manga collection and basically broken the spines on all of them, scanned them in, and said, "I'm just keeping the digital copies. I'm going to shred the rest."
Yeah,
and that's their thing. I've started buying movies digitally because I don't want more stuff a lot of the time. This, however, is one of those things that's like, yes, I'm willing to pay for it, and I think that's actually building in part of why this is on Kickstarter, because it's not that huge audience for wargamers. So, you know, temper your expectations, but it's not that huge mass market thing. It's not like, you know, oh, it's a faction book with rules in from Mark II. Everyone's going to buy a copy. It's like
some of it for me is that I miss that. So some of the appeal is that I miss the. I used to like those books like once, twice a year. Actually, you get definitely twice a year if you're into Hordes and War Machine. You got the next set of rules, all the different faction models, rules, and the ongoing fluff, and I enjoyed those. Now I know we're in a digital age now, and the rules are changing, and COD would make that impossible anyway. But I miss that, and this is kind of harkening back to that. And some of it will be the old classic early art, but there'll be newer art and stuff that we've.
There are new bits of art in there, which is fine. But the book also shares sort of space with, you know, stuff like Level 7 and and if I know lots of people love
Monster Apocalypse as well.
I'm sure lots of people love Monpok. I
love Monpok. I haven't played any Monpok, but I like Monpok.
I'm not interested in having a book for, if it was purely War Machine based, maybe. And if
it's going to be majority Nine Kingdoms, though. Let's be fair.
I guess. I mean, they might fill it full of filler at some point.
I was going to say, judging by the pictures they put up for the canvas art print, I think that kind of tells you roughly how much they're looking at Iron Kingdoms before other things.
Yeah. No. Well, I don't think you'd get as big a sort of you know, epic combat scenes in level 7, a corridor shooter, and as you would in, I mean, some of these, I mean, they are beautiful, but again, some of the quality varies in the art as well, and obviously art is in the eye of the beholder, but
yeah, that's always very much
contextual.
subjective.
But the other side to it, but is nobody's. It's not a requirement to buy it. I mean, you know, you can
No,
argue the nature.
I'm never saying it is.
But
I
it's
would
not
have
got key,
preferred.
it's not some. It hasn't got some key essential rule or some key essential secret thing in it.
I think this is good, and I hope it succeeds. But I hope it succeeds in that we get a book about the fluff, and that's what some people have been saying as well, that they'd have preferred a book of, you know, everything.
A compendium.
Yeah, essentially like the old RPG books for the system.
I mean, nothing says that they can't actually do that down the line. And I think if they get tangential products like this off the ground, I think it's going to free them up a bit more to actually be able to do more of those passion projects. Because something like that would purely be like Doug Seacat locking himself away in a room for 6 months going, I'm going to write a definitive timeline of everything that's happened from Mark 1 to Mark 3.
I think it would still get funded as well. But I mean, I'm looking at the numbers there. There's 1,132 backers. It's a sad time, especially when you remember I'm going nostalgia again, but the video game that was terrible, and the amount of people that backed at that stage.
I would say for that one, how many were backing for the caster models?
Exactly, but yeah, of course they were trying to get pre-releases, but you'd think that the people still playing that game were in that number, and now this is it's a bit of a sad number, just for me. Like I would say I don't think it's a sad number. I think that it proves that 1,000 people want to see an art book of this stuff. I don't think this was really going to be a massively widespread thing, because not everyone wants a coffee table art book. And it's as you've said yourself, it's a niche. Yeah.
I think that's kind of fine. I think they were over ambitious with their stretch goals for it, certainly.
Oh yeah, those numbers were.
That was disappointing. Yeah,
I think maximum in the last, because it's reached the last like 3 days. I think maximum they'll probably hit the first more pages stretch goal. They've just hit the Infernals digital sketchbook, which will be interesting.
There's some stats on Kickstarter, don't there, about the last 24 hours is often a massively higher percentage than any other previous day, isn't there? So who knows where it would go in the last 3 days?
Yeah, your first day and your last day are your big ones. I'm going to go stats nerd here for a second.
Okay.
So bear with me. Because there is a wonderful website called KickTrack that does all this sort of stuff for you.
Good effect. That was good.
Jesus Christ! If you look at the number of backers for War Machine Tactics, 19,800.
Holy moly!
Yeah, I'm not trying to compare it to the book, but that just really, that figure and the amount raised, which is 1,500,000, was a
So, if we look at the trending and the projections, so the projection is this will end at round about $84,000, with the projection being probably in the 76 to 84 range, which probably gives us the Infernals. Definitely gives us the Infernal sketchbook, and probably gives us the Monster Apocalypse sketchbook as well. And there's an outside chance for the first lot of more pages, so which would give us up to 162 pages in this book.
Nice,
which is nice.
My God! If you look at the Kickstarter for the war game, for the War Machine Tactics, you really see that people wanted a really good, off the table top experience, and it just never delivered. It was very sad.
I unfortunately didn't have any faith in that from the start, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I know. It's just a bit sad.
It's a very difficult thing to realise.
I guess, yeah, it was. It was definitely very ambitious.
To be honest, they probably would have had a better time had they stuck with their original plan for that game.
Yeah, I can't remember what that was again.
So,
here we go.
To delve back into history, what was presented there was not the first version of that video game.
Okay.
The first version of that video game, and I'll be very surprised if you can still find this on YouTube somewhere. The first version of that video game was I'm trying to think of the name of the game. Dynasty Warriors.
Oh.
So the very first version that I saw had a version of, I think it was both Stryker and Haley going through a burning city, going all Dynasty Warriors on a bunch of Winter Guard.
Yes, I think I remember seeing this as well.
And what they were able to do was basically press a button and it would switch to their Warjack, at which point almost like they could either directly control them from the sense of shooting things, or they could pretty much almost throw them like a grenade. So you'd see an AoE on the ground and the Jack would head into that area and just spend your focus to kill whatever was there. It was a really interesting looking concept, and I think they would have done well with that. Replicating something as complex as War Machine inside a video game was always going to be a big ask. And
yeah,
I mean, they tried. It was an interesting attempt, but it ended up being slightly clunky and never quite worked from what I saw.
No, it didn't work. I played it quite a bit. There was one campaign mission that was just really fucking awful, and that's when I hit my limit. I tried the skirmish options, but the AI differed from completely useless to pretty much insane. So,
there we go. Okay,
is there a video link? Because I was trying to find it.
I have found it. You'll laugh when you find out what channel it's on.
Channel is it on?
Oh, you'll see. I'll wait until you see it when
Okay.
If I can find Facebook to actually paste it to you, that would be lovely.
Oh God, you got too many links, have you?
Yeah. So there you go.
Okay, let's see what channel this is on.
Because this will be a blast from the past.
Oh my lord! Really? Them?
Yep. So for reference, to people who can't see it.
Oh, I see.
The War Machine E3 trailer, as it's called on YouTube, was posted on the channel Guts and Gears back in 2011. And oh boy, that is quite some years ago. So it was still by White Moon Dreams. And it used what I believe would become like the final character models.
Yeah.
For the video game. In fact, some of the footage was reused for War Machine Tactics.
It's Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does look it, yeah.
Sorsha looks like a harlot. Oh my god. Oh, this is hilarious. I wish we could watch this in real time and commentate on it. Oh, but yeah, I see the hack and slash. Why the fuck didn't they do this? Apart from the Winter Guard all running like lemmings. That's quite amusing. Yeah, this would have been slightly more palatable, I think. Less clunky.
The thing is, though, it already, from what you can see there, looks pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You've got Stryker who's in close, dodging a Cadre Warjack that's trying to smack his face in. It doesn't
look like Stryker though. That guy looks like some cheesy 80s fucking character in power armor.
So Striker then.
No, he's 90s. He's New Kids on the Block. that Striker looks fucking ancient. Like, looks like he does disco. Fucking hell. Oh, well, prepare yourself for battle, and then they just churned out a load of shit. I mean, they were a not very experienced studio, though. Either way, White Moon Dreams, was it? Somebody actually, like, record that for posterity when Gus and Gears dies.
What do you mean when, Benj?
Oh, sorry. I meant the online... the channel? I don't know. Subscribers are 696 still. Jesus, Guts and Gears.
I mean, Guts and Gears' last video was posted over 6 years ago.
Yeah, I know. You should archive it for posterity.
I'm not going to.
I know you're not.
Although weirdly, this is now the second time in a week they've come up, because Byron was talking to me about how one of his first experiences with War Machine at tournament level was against yourself, Kurt.
Yeah, I was going to say that's in Guildford, wasn't it? Yeah, not Guildford. Yeah,
Gears. Was it GearsCon?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, which was
it was something like that
near Gatwick.
Yeah, it was near Gatwick. Yeah. Yeah, we had a Chris Cawthorne resurrected his pentathlon event at that weekend.
Sorsha looks absolutely ridiculous in the 42-second slot, but it looks fairly normal at 1 minute 17. Absolutely, that player. What a honking great 3D nose! Jesus Christ, on a bike.
Benj, calm down.
I'm just saying, and the poorly rendered Cadre symbol on the hat. It's fine. It's all good.
I will say, for that being on the Guts and Gears channel, Guts and Gears, at the point where we started, were a very active podcast.
They were.
Yeah, so we're boosted damage. So we're Dragon Storm, I think.
Yeah. Alpha Strike came just after us. Yeah.
Oh, Flat Cap and Whip It Radio.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I mean, if this is not the face that launched 1,000 shits, let's just copy this to clipboard. Where is it? This is beautiful. Look at this.
Benj, had you completely forgotten the original War Machine video game?
What, the original War Machine video? What?
As in that one I posted.
I remember it now, but because I saw this. But this is, look at that face. Yeah, that's what that character's saying. It just puts the shades down. Oh,
just again for all the people who can't see this, because this is an audio format.
It's good for radio. Yes.
Yes.
We're looking at cool things you can't see.
Yeah. Just search for War Machine video game and look for the channel Guts and Gears. It'll be on there. It's really a blast from the past.
Yeah.
All right, calm down, Benj.
All right, it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Poor White Moon Dreams.
I don't even know if they still exist, Frank.
Probably not. I mean, most studios these days are eaten by EA and lose them.
Okay. No, they still do exist.
Yeah, they still exist. I just checked.
They've actually become a publisher.
Huh. Oh, there's a glass door for them as well. Working at White Moon Dreams. See what employees say. Let's have a look at this. This is going to be fun.
Can we avoid the lawsuits that may come?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we should back away from this.
People to work with. Everyone tries very hard.
Let's back away from this.
Do we have any other questions?
Wait. Usual indie studio woes. Spotty
Stop.
Sorry. Is Glassdoor controversial?
This is getting cut.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
So First of all, as someone who works in the software development industry, I feel it might be wholly unprofessional on my part to allow any further disparagement of a fellow team of software developers.
Hey, I'm just reading quotes here.
Secondly, this is in the UK a form of publishing, which, let's see, if we say anything that's both A, materially untrue, and B, disparaging about White Bear Dreams that might be located on Glassdoor, we would also be regarded as a publisher, which means we could get done for
libel.
No, it's what is it? It's libel if it's written down, slander if it's spoken.
Yeah.
So we'd be liable.
Publishing.
We would be liable for slander, which is much easier to prosecute in the UK than it is in the US.
What, are we going to get extradited for this or something?
No, I'm just saying it'd be really easy to raise a lawsuit against them over here. I mean, it would be incredibly unlikely to happen. However, I do not wish to be the person that gets landed with that one.
Okay.
So that's why anything there is going in the bin.
Wise. Very wise.
Yeah.
Thank you, Byron.
Byron, we had it in the podcast.
What's that?
Can I choose the music? Like 5 minutes later, and it's just a SpongeBob.
I can't do SpongeBob title cards on audio.
Well, you can use the voice. It's fine.
Oh God!
I give up.
I feel this may have degraded somewhat.
I'm just gonna go jump out of a window.
I literally love how I can bring Mike to suicide. It's fine.
Wow.
No, it's fine. No, I don't want Mike to die. I just love how I can wear away his resolve
and sanity.
And
usually by putting us in a point where I'm like, no, stop, we're not going anywhere near that. Please don't. And then you keep going.
It's like a big red button. It has to be pushed somewhere.
Yeah, the big red delete button.
Yeah.
I wish I had an edit bench button. Just expunges anything you've said throughout the entire podcast.
Oh,
it would make my life so much simpler sometimes.
But you ask for my opinion sometimes.
I know, and more the fool is me for doing it.
Oh, woe is me. No, it's fine. It's fine. I won't get us done for libel or recorded libel.
Slander.
Yeah, that's it. Slander. That's the one.
I have no idea what the hell we're talking about now. Anyway,
a small indie developer.
I said about were there any other questions? That's what I said. Try and get back to some level. Of
were there any other questions? I believe there were on Facebook. Question mark.
Can we rapid fire these ones? I'm tired.
Yes, good call. Good call. Rapid fire.
Okay, well, it's getting up to 11, so I suppose I better go and make my lunch for work tomorrow soon.
Can you make mine too?
Some overnight oats as well.
I love for that.
Oh. So, okay, one here from a friend of mine called Moley. The state of the game in regards to someone thinking of getting back into it. Last time I tried it was just colossals and tournament lists as far as the eye can see.
It's tournaments and battle engines now, and colossals.
I would say that there is a good mix of lists out there. So most people in their list pairing, or as part of their, let's say they've got a list pairing and maybe a couple more lists beside, will have one list with a colossal in, usually, at least. And maybe one that's a colossal and a battle engine.
Well, I'll say something more positive here. Get back into the game. It is still fun. Get back into the game and pick a decent... I mean, the theme forces allow you to build a cookie cutter list to begin with and, learn the nuances of that quite easily instead of having to build a list yourself.
I would actually walk that one back just a tiny bit.
Okay.
Where you've said cookie cutter. I'm not sure it's quite that simple. Because although there are kind of... They're good guidelines on ways to build things that synergize with each other. There's still variation in between that, and there's probably a best list for each one. Yes,
There's quite a lot of variation in most armies within themes. Yeah,
Not high reclaimer. But there we go. I mean,
but even within a theme, you can change the caster, and then you suddenly have to change the army to match them. And even though it's the same, the same theme with the same benefits, you'll find it plays in a different way.
It's maybe I meant on the sense of when I say cookie cutter, the most optimal net deck basically that exists.
But there's less of those now than there were. I mean, yes, high reclaimer dual judicator with Civi Zero, yes. But name another one.
I can't because I don't play as
Slayers. Nine
Oh,
Slayers.
yeah,
Oh
Nine
God!
Slayers, yeah.
But then name another one.
Haley through the trenches.
All the trenches. Yeah.
I think after that you start to run dry very quickly.
There aren't that many. There really
Circle
aren't.
and all the fun. I can't remember the caster.
What's the face? The secret you can't see it go. Yeah. That's more new hotness than new hotness than Judicator.
What I will say for the 9 Slayers list is
they can die in a fire.
No. If you knock a couple of those tent pegs out, that thing falls down like a house of cards real fast. I took McBain into it. Basically just stood there and went, okay, you got a group of 3 Slayers together? Great. Jackhammer. So I've killed 2 Slayers, badly damaged another. And yeah, you've still got a lot of Slayers left, but I've got a full health Nomad that's standing out there in front of my army. What are you going to do? Take out an 11-point Warjack so I can send in a Mangler and kill even more of your Slayers? It's got its problems, that list. If you can knock a couple of the Jacks out, it really goes down fast.
I could imagine it being quite intimidating to a new person, though, coming back in.
Oh, God, yeah. No, you need to work out what you're doing against
it. A Slayer with an arm missing is a lot less devastating, I agree.
Yeah,
absolutely. One arm gone. One arm gone is enough.
Well, they can't combo strike anymore, and that's where all their damage is coming from.
Combo. All right. Move on to the next one.
Yeah. All right, calm down. There's only like 2 left, and one of them I think we've covered.
What was that? What about my swallow one?
Oh no, actually no. We have covered it because it was just talking about community interaction. But the last one is from the late Nick Topham.
Oh, is he dead?
Dead to us.
No, he's just late. He's just always late.
And it's just a question: how do you make Nick play the game again?
Well, he didn't say well. He just said play the game again.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we can answer that for him, but he now lives in central London. So talk to Norbert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His enthusiasm alone should get you playing if you're going to the cross or wherever he goes. Here's
the thing, right? And I mean this with absolute respect for Norbert and all that he does for the community in London, because he works in its tournaments there and runs them. London is about 45 minutes by train from my house. I don't go into London for tournaments. I actually spend 2 hours driving to Milton Keynes, Bristol, Cardiff, literally anywhere else, because getting into and out of London is such a faff that just throwing things in the car and driving 2 hours away seems like a much better deal.
Well, you can't park your car. That's the big key part of what you just described, really, isn't it?
Oh, I can park it at Basingstoke Station, at which point I have to carry my army cases onto the train, and then from the train...
You can't drive to a venue and park at a venue, can you?
It's so bad. I mean, I could if I didn't value my own life, because driving in London is an experience I do not wish to repeat anywhere in the next decade or so.
You can drive to Hammersmith and park in Hammersmith and take a tube in, but I don't want to take an army case on the tube. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I've done that once. And
I've done it. Yeah, I've done it. I used to go up there, but
yes, so how to get Nick to play the game again? Just, I don't know, bully him over Twitter until he goes and plays. There we go. That's my answer. Anyone else?
Bullying. No, bullying Nick. I used to enjoy that. Yeah. Hi, Nick.
Wow.
What?
I haven't said anything. I just went.
I can go back to my pre broadcast comment of how I got Nick DQ'd out of a national tournament, if you like.
I mean, yeah.
It was fun. It was amusing. We rolled off. We were on the bottom table out of, I think it was the 7th round of 2 days of nationals, and we were at the very bottom or second bottom table, and we diced off, and he won. He opted to go second, chose his table edge, and then started deploying. And I didn't argue with him. I just put my hand up and complained to a judge and got him DQ'd. He did get un-DQ'd, but immediately Chris came over and went, DQ'd, done, bye-bye. And then walked away. And he did come back and then say, no, it's all right, just stop.
It would have been more funny if it didn't come back.
Yeah, there was a delay. It was funny.
Okay.
I was on the floor crying. It was so funny. Just deadpan, straight over, DQ, bye-bye.
I miss him. Where is he?
Chris Cawthorne.
Yeah.
He's in Cambridge.
Also,
I know.
In London. Oh, in London now.
What?
Is he in
London?
I think so.
Okay.
What's he doing in London?
Working there.
Bloody hell.
He's not been. He left Cambridge from a working point of view quite a while ago.
Okay. Fair enough.
Well, you obviously
I
track him
can't remember where
better
he's living
than
exactly. He moved further south a little bit, I think.
Are you sure?
He's living right in the middle.
To be fair, expense-wise, between London and Cambridge, yeah, you kind of don't want to be in either of those if you're renting or buying. So
Cambridge is a city of two halves, though. Let's not go any further than that.
Well,
There are cheaper places to rent in Cambridge. You just wouldn't want to live there.
fair enough. I would say it's a bit like Basingstoke, but you just wouldn't want to live here in general. So
I wouldn't know. I can't even drive through the place.
A lot of places are pretty garbage, to be honest.
The positivity overflowing. A lot of places.
having come here from Bloxwich, it's an upgrade. I'll say that.
From where?
Bloxwich.
I think it's a sandwich.
No. Moving on.
I mean,
That was a poor attempt there, Jen.
Okay.
sorry,
If you pair want to wrap this up, let's go for any other business. So, first on my list, Benj, any other business?
why do I always come first on this bit?
Because I look at the order the icons are in.
Okay.
Alphabetical.
Yeah.
I thought I'd be slightly more awake than I feel right now. But what have I been doing? Any other business? Primer was £2.49 on Amazon, and I love that movie. And now I've got it in digital format for the rest of my days. It wasn't previously available to stream. That is a very recent thing. It was only available on DVD, and it cost £10 on DVD.
It was on Netflix.
Primer on Netflix?
Yeah, it was for ages.
Really? I must have missed that. I honestly
and-
did not see that.
And then I bought it on Google Play a while back.
Well, there we go. I had Amazon Prime, so I wasn't even looking in any of those places. I never saw it on Netflix, though. That's a new one to me, and I did have Netflix for a bloody long time. Anyway, it's a great movie. Go watch it 9 billion times and try and figure out who's doing what.
Yeah, I agree. 7 times at least.
Yeah. Fair.
I did read that thing where it said that they intentionally kept all the dialogue as fucking, techie as possible so that people would have to watch it because it was a distraction from what was actually going on in the...
Yeah, that kitchen scene alone is massively different when you get to watching it about 5 times.
Yeah.
Just the kitchen scene is just like, wait, what? What? Actually, because you start ignoring what they're talking about and you're just like, okay, I'm not going to spoil it beyond that, but that scene jumps out as significantly different later.
I think we've discussed Primer on multiple episodes, and every time I've reiterated. Well, apart from the first, because I didn't know about it, I've reiterated what Kurt said to me. If you're going to watch Primer, go in knowing as little as possible about the film. Do not read the back of the DVD case. Do not read online synopses. Don't read the description. Just watch the film. And process as you go. There is a lot to process in there. And you will want to watch it a second time afterwards.
Yes. And then you'll leave it a while and then watch it again and go, wait, that's not what I remember.
Yeah. That's if you enjoyed it the first time. I can imagine lots of people turning it off and never coming back to it, which is
some people will. And that's not like from an intellectual standpoint or anything. That's like it won't be their cup of tea, and that's perfectly fine. But if you're into that sort of thing, and it's really hard not to say anything without spoiling it, but just give it a watch. It is not a very long film, and it is very well done for what it is.
Rewarding. That's what it is.
I wanted to see The Favourite, but I didn't get to see that this week.
I haven't watched that yet. I do want to watch that as well.
Yeah.
I've heard about that, but I haven't watched it.
Yeah, it's from the guy that did The Lobster. So.
Yes, which I have seen. Yeah.
Okay. Is that any other business?
Yeah, I really haven't been up to any nerd shit recently. So.
Okay. Kurt, how about yourself?
I'm continuing the same theme. I went to Bumblebee over Christmas. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, I wish I'd have seen that.
I really enjoyed that in the cinema. It was good. It's just I wouldn't say it makes up for the poor Transformers films, but it's way up there. It's best Transformers film. It's really good.
As in all the Transformers films being poor, because they're pretty much all garbage in comparison.
I quite like Dark of the Moon.
Okay.
Which is 3, isn't it? I like that one. Like, it's got a story, it's got a plot, it's got an arc. It goes a bit long, but I like it.
Okay.
But that's fine. Other gaming type things. Played quite a lot of Unstable Unicorns over Christmas.
Okay.
Card game. That's really good.
It's a real simple card game.
It's really simple. It's based on similar things to a lot of other card games concepts.
Yeah.
Really, really good fun. And it says something like 14 and up. My 8-year-old loves it.
I will again make sure to remind people that if you are going to play it with your children, make sure you have the safe for work version before you start playing.
So
otherwise questions will arise.
So I bought a set that included 4 different expansions, the core game and 4 expansions, all still sealed and everything else. And so I, without even opening it, took the NSFW expansion and discarded it. Didn't wrap it up for my 8-year-old for Christmas. I then, after Christmas, came home and then found where I'd chucked it somewhere behind my desk and opened it. I thought, because we've got Exploding Kittens, I thought it's going to be NSFW like Exploding Kittens and NSFW. It's going to be like Exploding Kittens and NSFW has got cats with lots of nipples and kind of rude things and silly things and kind of poo jokes and filthy like poo cats and all kinds of it's toilet humor. The NSFW exploding of Unstable Unicorns. Oh my god, it's not the same thing at all. So one of the basic unicorns in the basic box is a horse with an ice cream cone stuck on its head that looks like a unicorn. So it's a horse trying to pretend to be a unicorn. The equivalent in NSFW is a horse with a dildo slapped to its head.
Yeah,
that's about the standard.
That's not that dark.
You want to explain that to my 8-year-old?
No.
See? There you go. No. And it's got like unicorn bear and unicorn twink, and one draws the other end, whichever one you get in your hand. It's just like, what the hell is that? I'm not explaining that to my children. Get out. And then you have to explain why you know that. I'm not explaining that either. No, but so that's never going anywhere near my children. Well, not for a long time. But we have the dragons and the adventure kind of fantasy one, and it's good. It's a really good game. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We played a little of that. And Princess Jing, my eldest and I played a lot of that. That was good. Got that. That was a recommendation from D6 Generation from back in the summer, or back from Gen Con in the summer. I put that for her, which is really good fun. It's obscure kind of. You've got to get your princess to escape with her romantic, the captain of the guard that she wants to run away with across the board, while the other person's trying to do the same thing while you sabotage them. It's good fun. Okay. And painting lots of Crystal Guard, obviously, that's still continuing.
I thought you said you nearly finished.
I have fully finished. I mean, I got loads I played fully painted at the weekend.
Yeah, that was impressive.
So none of that was out before July, really.
Even better, the fact that people had to ask you for the Colossals. So that the stripes, did you mask that off or is that freehand?
Yeah, that was a nice compliment. I like that.
Yeah, because I will say that stuff is, like, in my eyes, leaps and bounds ahead of what I saw on your Trolls.
Oh,
your Trolls were good.
Mm.
Your Crucible Guard is excellent.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I like that. And yeah, freehand. My Crucible Guard is all the metalwork is kind of gold, and then the main armor plates are purple, and all the kind of trim is an orange and black stripe, hazard, kind of like a hazard stripe. So it does have a kind of a what they're called in 40k. Can't remember what they're called now. Not Iron Warriors. Is it Iron Warriors? What are they called?
Asking the wrong person.
Yeah, I know. But orange, it's orange instead of yellow, and I'm happy with it. I've got one Vulcan that's done. The second one was on the table, but it isn't finished. But it's getting there. There's a lot of work in that in 6 months. I've been painting a lot over the last 6 months.
Okay.
And now I have ambitions to do new GT Occult Army, but that might have to wait a little bit.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. That's about me, I think.
So, for myself, my Christmas was sadly pretty movieless, I think. I may have watched a couple of bits and pieces. From the media side, what I will do is recommend a series that has just started airing. And it is very much into nerddom. It is an anime series called The Promised Neverland, which is it's about some kids who are growing up in an orphanage, and it's idyllic and peaceful, and there are basically two rules. Don't go outside the fence that's in the forest, and don't go near the gate that leads to the outside world. And
so it's like somewhere between the village and a board game that I've backed on Kickstarter.
Well, every child that's there is adopted between the ages of 6 and 12, and while they're at the orphanage, they are they're tested every morning with mental tests, and then the afternoon is theirs to do with us that they want, sort of playing around. And I'm not going to spoil what happens because I've read nearly 7 books of this since Christmas. But their world is not quite as peaceful as they think it is, nor is their world what they think it is. So if you do get a chance, The Promised Neverland is available on Crunchyroll, I think, which is available. There's basically a free version of it if you want to watch some adverts, and you can watch the first episode, which is really good and has a nice twist. So there you go. That's my media-based recommendation.
Oh,
God.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I've watched all of Titans thinking about TV stuff, but I thoroughly enjoyed that too.
So gaming-wise, I glued all the things, just all of them, because I had to have an army that was ready for playing in Champions. So that ended up with being, okay, what armies can I make? Well, I've got this dwarf army. Oh wait, I don't have a basher for that. I guess better to glue the basher. And I want to do Cross as the other army. Well, I need to glue Cross. Oh, and then I want to run in with exemplar errants. So I need to glue those.
Plastic. You complained about assembling plastic exemplar errants.
They are still in so many pieces. Why?
I have 2 full units of metal errant exemplars.
I mean, I pity you, but at the same time,
it hurts. Just painful with spiky little shieldy arms.
I mean, the UA is still metal, so there was still that. But it's like, okay, so this one it's got a crossbow on its back, and it's got a scabbard down one side, and then it's got 2 arms, and then it's got the bits that are there, and then it's got 2 different shoulder pads, and the hat's separate, and so many pieces.
They are.
Yes, they are.
They basically taken the metal and turned it into plastic and not actually changed it, hasn't it?
Yeah, that seems to be the thing. So on top of that, I also had to glue a unit of flame bringers, which I love the look of them. But then you try and get them in a case, and you realise that it's the normal horse, so it's too wide to go into any of the large spaces properly anyway. But then instead of having the rider sitting on top, because they're standing on top of the horses in most instances, and they are holding knives out to either sides, there's no way of actually comfortably getting that into a case. So at the moment, they've got their own mini case that just accompanies me everywhere, and I've said, it'll do. As well as that, this year I have, I'm slowly rebuilding the local X-Wing club because we had a bit of a death of it over Christmas.
Because you dropped it and it broke. No?
No. It's just that it moved to version 2. We had a lot of people who had some time sinks at the same time, and it's getting them back into the game slowly. We're now back up to 4 or 5 members again from 2. Which was kind of depressing. But we're getting there. And for people who do play X-Wing, the first of their version of the dynamic updates is out on Monday, Monday the 28th. So all the points and the equipment slots for ships are changing. So be ready to update your apps, I guess. There you go. Yeah.
Yay.
Oh, actually, I have watched films recently. I've just noticed on my my letterboxed feed. I finally got around to watching Jackie Brown.
Oh wow! Oh,
actually,
in that same, I watched both Kill Bill films over Christmas as well. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to say, Jackie Brown probably my least favorite Tarantino.
Oh, I enjoyed Jackie Brown. I might watch it again, but I really like Jackie Brown.
I think the last hour or so is kind of fine, but the first hour, I was rapidly losing interest in basically everyone in the film. It's not terrible. It was just kind of there. I also watched Morgan. Don't know if anyone's heard of that.
No, don't think so.
So Morgan is actually relates to something I'm listening to at the moment. Morgan is basically kind of a Frankenstein story, where a group of scientists create this super child, and it's what stems from their creation of this child and them trying to make it into an acceptable member of society. After, and this is not a spoiler because it's the whole reason for the setup of the film, after she ends up killing one of the people who works at the facility.
Okay.
So there you go. I quite enjoyed it. It's not the best film, but if you like your sci-fi dystopia things, it might be of interest. So it's one of those films where if you saw it on Netflix and it was a rainy afternoon and you thought, I've got nothing better to do, watch Morgan. It's not terrible.
Okay.
Damning with faint praise there, I know, but there we go.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah. I am actually listening to Frankenstein on audiobook at the moment, and I'm getting increasingly frustrated with Frankenstein himself because I want to strangle him. Because he's an idiot. I'm about half an hour from the end. It's being read by Derek Jacobi, so it's a lovely sort of dramatic tale. And there is a point in the book which anyone who's read the book will know. It's the point where he goes to Ireland. I wanted just to find the writer in question. Why?
Oh, Anya Taylor-Joy is Morgan. I just looked it up.
Yes.
That's the girl from Split.
Yes.
Cool.
Who's also in the New Mutants, which you've not heard about the tales that one's going through. Have fun with that. Now, been delayed by over a year. The reshoots haven't yet started, and they may just pump the movie out on Hulu.
Does that mean that it's going to be the non muted version. Because weren't the reshoots to make it lighter or something?
Not heard any information on that one, but basically the studio and the director can't agree on a cut.
Okay.
So it will probably be the studio's cut that goes up on Hulu, at a guess.
Okay.
So anyway, I think that's probably us done for this episode. So, Kurt, do you want to send us off?
You've been listening to Elite Cadre, the Hordes and War Machine, and obviously movies and TV shows and everything else we can think of podcast that doesn't take itself too seriously. I've been Kurt.
I've been Mike.
I've been Benj.
You sure, Benj?
I'm not really sure.
Good.
Bye.
Bye, Nick.
Bye, Nick.
There we go. That's a podcast.
Nice.
What number was that?
96.
Oh.
Although I have just realised something, Benj.
What's up?
We didn't talk about your tournament.
It's fine. I wondered whether it was going to happen.
But you were asked. You were asked what other things you were doing. That's the opportunity.
No. That was during. I hoped it would segue from what you were talking about, but
But Benj,
yeah,
what we've got coming up is you going to another tournament.
Am I?
So now that you are executive in charge of asking people about scheduling,
yes,
and you schedule the next podcast,
yeah,
you'll have two things to talk about.
Oh, okay.
See how this works?
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. Am I scheduling now then? Is that my job? Oh, I can live with that, I guess.
Because you're always the person who reminds me about it. So I thought, why doesn't Benj set up the doodle? It'll be fine.
Well, it worked.
Benji, are you going to BonesCon?
No, but I am. I was going to go to Leeds. Are we still on air?
Yeah. I haven't stopped the broadcast yet, so.
Do you want to?
I can do. Okay. Thank you to the people who've been listening this evening and the people who will see us on YouTube later. We will be back for our next podcast at some point in the future, but Benj decides. Find out first either on my Twitter feed or the Elite Cadre Twitter feed.
Hopefully about a month.
Yeah.
That's
so
usually our aim.
Either at Mr. Chom or Twitter or on Twitter or at Elite_Cadre. All right. Thank you very much and goodbye.